Hey, what's up, guys? JC here, and what I'm bringing you guys today is a RESTO DRUID healing guide. This guide is going to be focused around raid healing. My last RESTO guide was more focused around 5-man content, and the main changes that happen from 5-man to raid healing, one is your stat priority completely changes, and two, what really changes is your talents. So if you guys remember from my 5-man healing guide, we did abundance, and we did cultivation, I do believe. So what I do in this guide, what I do, which really works for me, as you guys will see from the footage that I'm going to show you, is Cenarian Ward is definitely a go-to for when it comes to raid healing. You always keep your Cenarian Ward on your tanks, you keep your Life Bloom on your tanks, and you're going to choose Germination because you're going to keep two hots on your tanks. Now, if I was to actually have the T20 pieces, which I in fact don't have any T20 on this druid, the gear I have is better, I would really go into Spring Blossoms because, you know, T20 really, let me open my bags here. I think I have a piece. Like, I have the shoulders here. You know, your 4-piece Swiftman increases your efflorescence healing by 200%, which is, it does a lot, don't get me wrong. So if I was to actually have the 4-piece set, I would go into Prosperity, I would go into Soul of the Forest, and instead of Germination, I would go into Spring Blossoms, which in return would actually make my stat weights change. So this right here, this is my standard stat weight that I enjoy, which works for me in a raid healing environment. I keep Cenarian Ward on the tanks, like I said, at all times. I still use my efflorescence like on cooldown, but I don't use Spring Blossoms because, to my opinion, having a second hot on that target is a lot better than this little 37,000 over 6 seconds. The second rejuvenation just helps a lot. So we're gonna go Cenarian Ward. It's a strong hot. Displacer Beast that should be a given. It helps be able to jump away from anything that's on the ground, any bad. Displacer Beast should definitely be the go-to. Guardian Affinity always, because it's straight damage mitigation, which helps a lot. Keeping yourself at full health will let your Ysera's gift heal over and over and over, and it's awesome. This tier is 100% whatever you feel works for you. I keep it on Typhoon as always. I don't ever even use it. I mean, I have it on my bar, but I don't use it. Soul of the Forest helps whenever you using a Swift Mend, which I use Swift Mend a lot. You use Swift Mend to get, you know, that 75% to your wild growth healing. Soul of the Forest really works well with a Swift Mend, a wild growth. You do Flourish, you do your Essence of Ganhir, and I mean, I'm talking, it's insane numbers, And then Flourish is definitely a given. It's a go-to. So I mean, that right there, that's just the talent setup. All right. Now, when it comes to choosing gear, it's picky. I mean, as you guys can see, I'm 918 of 921. The reason why I'm 918 is because I use lower item level rings, because lower level rings may give me better stats than, you know, my 910, 915 rings that I have. Jewelry is the only thing that you can actually drop your item level because it doesn't affect your intellect. You do not want to, especially for raid healing, you don't want to do anything less or anything more than a 5 item level drop for stats, because at that point, even though your stat weights may show that intellect is a little lower than mastery, if you were to drop that piece of gear and then rerun your stat weights, it's almost guaranteed that intellect, again, will always just help more and more. As you know, spell power is intellect now, so for every point of intellect is a point of spell power. So your healing throughout will just do a lot better with higher item level gear. At no point in time do you want to sacrifice more than 5 item levels because this gear has 500 more haste or 500 more mastery, etc., etc. You don't want to do it. I promise you. Just keep your gear. The only thing you drop down on is trinkets and rings. Now, trinkets are also very situational in my opinion. I have Sea Star the Deep Mother, so right there, my wild growth has a chance to grant the Ocean's Embrace, which does a shit ton of healing. This is from my normal raid that I did last night. We'll go into it, and you'll see that my Ocean's Embrace did 136 million, did 6% of my healing, which It's actually, I mean, it's pretty strong. It's a really strong trinket. I would love to actually get it like Titan Force 930. That would be awesome. It's a good trinket. So I like using that trinket, and I also tend to use the Barbaric Mindslaver, which I need a socket. I have no idea why I don't have that socketed. But being that druids are always running out of mana, it's just, it happens. There's no way to like efficiently heal a whole fight without at least using Innervate or a mana potion or a Ley Torrent potion at least once. I mean, it sucks, but that's just the name of the game. So if you have any rep pallies, beg them for wisdom. It really helps out. But this trinket here, which will healing effects have a chance to do an additional 193,000 healing, and it occurs more often while you're at low mana, which is really great because I noticed that I spend probably 30% of the fight at around 30% mana. It sucks, but that's just the way it is. If you want to actually be high up on the healing meter, you kind of got to overheal, and you kind of got to be like right there healing with it. That's just, it sucks. So that's the gear, that's the talents. Now the main thing is these stat weights. So we're gonna zoom in on the stat weights here. You'll see it. This is an add-on. I'm sorry, it's a aura from Weak Auras. It's called RDSW, and you'll see that the numbers are constantly changing. So with a stat weight, it's not like a normal DPS stat weight. You're like, okay, I need more this, this, and this. It changes so much, it's unreal. So whoever came up with this Weak Aura, shout out to you. This Weak Aura is kick-ass. I'll leave it in the description. But so what you do is you get these stat weights, and then the way to work stat weights is through Pawn, so which is also a third party add-on. So Pawn is what gives me these little like upgrades right here, like 5-man healing, 56% upgrade. So that's what Pawn does. Pawn gives you these upgrades. So what you would do is, once you get your stat weights, you have to run a dungeon, run a raid, you'll get some stat weights. Is you come into Pawn and you go to scale. You can actually get rid of the default. Do not listen to the defaults once Pawn. Just all you have to do is untick show this scale, and it won't show anymore. But if you wanted to create a brand new one, you go to create a new scale right here, name it whatever you want. We'll name it test, and then what you would do is you click on intellect, and you just put in the numbers that it gives you here. So just put in your intellect, put in your crit, your haste, your mastery, and your verse. Once you close that out, it'll actually start showing you gear upgrades based on that stat. So that is super, super handy, and that's the only really way you know what gear to choose when it comes to healing. I mean, you kind of have an idea of what performs more, but when it comes to a Resto Druid, some fights mastery just like takes the cake. Some fights it's, you need more crit than haste. It's so touchy and like situational. It's unreal. But again, we'll do a quick recap. These are the talents you want. Definitely get RDSW. You guys have seen, from the footage of how I'm actually, clicking the spells. I use Voodoo, and Voodoo really, I mean, helps out a ton. I mean, having just click casting is really super handy. You keybind all of your things. You don't need all of that, you don't need to click on a frame, then click the heal. Screw all that. I mean, this is 2017. Get to using something like this. So, hopefully this guide helped you. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the gameplay of me actually raiding. I wanted to actually get some gameplay of me doing a dungeon boss. That way you can kind of see what I'm doing, and not just me standing in class hall telling you how to do it. This way you guys actually see what you're doing. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, please click that subscribe button, give me a thumbs up. 7.3 is dropping next Tuesday, I believe, at the time of this video, so it's right around the corner. There's going to be minor changes to the Druid, massive changes to Feral, which really doesn't affect us whatsoever, but there is going to be some minor changes, some tier changes. So I assume once the new tier comes out, talents are going to change, which would mean stat weights are going to change. It's going to get crazy. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Again, please just give me a thumbs up, subscribe, that'd be great. And yeah, man, hope you guys are having a good time healing. I'm actually really starting to enjoy the Druid, He takes a little bit of finesse to get used to, but once you actually get him down, he's super, super strong and he's super, super fun. So, happy healing, guys.